If I could go to the car wash and pay $20, or I could press a button and somebody cleans my car while I'm watching the game, I would pay 5 times more, because that 18 minutes to drive and get my car washed is too valuable to me. Convenience and time is worth everything. All of us will pay anything for more time.
What we are making is we want to make getting your car clean is the least thing you would worry about in your life. So we
Makes
get
sense.
your car washed anytime, anywhere. City like Riyadh, Jeddah, and now we are expanding next week to Dammam, the other main region city. So we just started as a normal car wash in a petrol station, and we expanded to 5. In 2018, we found the e-commerce is booming. People are delivering
Everything.
everything through motorbike. So we closed 4
Locations.
car washes. We brought these guys to motorbike and just to the street. We clean for free, get some information. And after that, we just operate through WhatsApp. And now we are operating around 180 bikers in cities. We deliver more than 1,300 washes a day.
Wow.
We want to be the #1 choice for anyone to get their car cleaned, anytime, anywhere.
I love it.
So whenever it gets dusty,
Which it does often here.
They're happy. We feel happy.
Well, good news, you're going to be very busy.
It's going to rain today.
I have good news, you're going to be very busy for the next decade. You know, there's so much building that's going to happen. Makes sense. Good for you.
I think the impressive part of also about them, about Sweater, is their growth. It's been crazy. You know how they're
And we're very happy to join 500 last year.
It's funny, when Uber was happening and all those startups, I was around, and I remember thinking about the idea of gas delivery. Like just the thought of like how much people don't like going to the gas station, and how gas used to be, like it was just bringing back the old in the new world. And it's funny, what I remember at a South by Southwest in 2011, 12, 13, that conversation of gas delivery went into what about car wash. And I remember thinking like that will happen one day, and here it is.
So you're like very well versed in the Web3 space,
Yes.
and you did your V-Friends, and
Yes.
you can see how the region is evolving, and you've witnessed similar, I would say, evolutions around the world.
I agree.
If you could give us like a piece of advice as the first in the region to do this kind of thing, and we're working, I think we're blessed to be, our first few clients were STC and Ministry of Culture and these crazy names. And it's like, you don't want to mess up, but you're also learning on the job, and I'm being very transparent right now. So if you could share like...
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I think you need to be transparent with the clients as well. You know, I think explaining that the way that e-commerce was built in 1996 when I was doing it looks very different than it is today. So Web3 is very early, and as you know, the brand of Web3 is not as good today as it was 24 months ago, right? The greed, the correction, like it needed to go through this era, similar to Web 1.0. The 99.999% besides eBay and Amazon of the companies that spent tons of VC money on building companies in the 90s failed. The same way that 99.9% of NFT projects will fail. You probably recall, because you were in the space, I was making videos in the middle of the height saying 99 is going to 0, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is pattern recognition. 99% of the iPhone apps, when Dave McClure and I were investing, failed. 99% of the websites failed, and 99% of the Web3 projects failed. That's different than what you're doing. What you're doing is more in the place of the things like a Shopify or a WordPress. You're in the shovels and picks, and so I think this is a really funny answer, but it's actually the true answer in my opinion. What you need to do is just not go out of business for the next 3 years.
No pressure.
You know what I mean? I think when you're right where something's going, but it's not there yet, and different than what they're doing, because e-commerce and small businesses having online shops, that's already mature. They may not have their solution, you know, but that's mature. What he's doing is a new solution to an old problem. People have been washing their cars for 100 years. What you're doing is new. And what that takes is this. And because I've always been doing new stuff my whole career, I feel very comfortable in that environment, but it's also because I'm very capable of staying alive. You know, the people that stay alive in Web3 over the next 4 years are the ones who have the biggest opportunity when we get into the next wave. So I think my biggest piece of advice is to be transparent with your clients, especially when in your situation, you are talking about the government, but you've got a great situation. It is inherently important for the government to be supporting Web3 infrastructure, because the strength of governments is they can think longer than the private sector. So I think being transparent, but not to a place where they lose confidence is a tricky balance. But I think there's a way for you to land that. And then what I would say is you should have no romance. Notice how they explain their business. And I have enough history in being around business that I could predict their business model, right? SaaS with percent, right? For you, there is not as clear of a model as it was for me to be able to assume there. You need to be in a place where if you have to be an agency, which is not a pretty idea of a business, but if you have to be for a year in 2026 just to get to 2028, you two have to have the humility and the scrappiness to stay alive for what's inevitably gonna happen in 4 to 5 years, which is what we just went through with NFTs and Web3 2 years ago is gonna happen again in 4 to 5 years, but much more mature, less greedy, more thoughtful, and more at scale, and that's when you'll be able to win.
If I may just
Please.
follow up on this question, so when it comes to Web3, so like we're very passionate about it, and one of the biggest things we're passionate about is like identity, proof of ownership,
That's all.
logistics, and the transparency of the blockchain.
Of course.
But given that it's a still kind of maturing space and
Yes.
has a long to go, where do you see the actual use case in real life where it impacts
Well,
people engagement?
this is when multiple things are happening at the same time. While we're focused on that, over here, AI is coming, and within 24 months, everybody from Saudi to America to China is gonna be worried about deepfake video.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. And what's gonna be the answer? The blockchain.
Yeah.
Because the blockchain can prove that I'm gonna be posting all my content on the blockchain first to prove it's real,
Yeah. That's a really good point.
right? So I believe the acceleration of AI and the ability to manipulate and create non-truth is actually going to speed up adoption for use cases in blockchain. Because blockchain's great strength is truth, which the internet can't provide.
Yeah.
So, again, the picture I just painted is gonna be much more understood in 5 years. You just need to get there. But, the use cases are gonna be profound. I don't think anyone's gonna buy a home
Yeah.
that isn't bought on the blockchain where the deed is in 15 years. But 15 years to you, I'm empathetic. You have a burn rate, you have your life, you have other things you want to do. So, I think for me, it's very clear what you're up to, which is you just gotta stay alive, because when it happens again, you're gonna sit there and be like, we've been doing this for 7 years. Who do you wanna do this with? Everyone's gonna wanna do it with you.
100%. Thank you, I appreciate it.
I would also seriously consider making content about the space. So whether that's written or if you two start a podcast, I think the other thing, one of the things I'm always disappointed in is because I am loud and I am out in front, I often benefit from being right when the moment comes.
Yeah.
But I know people around me are also in it, but because they're in the shadows, when the moment comes, it's harder for them to storytell that they've been a part of it.
Yeah, true.
And so I think it's important to make sure that you're staying in front of it. And right now, people are more shying away from it because it's got a little stigma. There's other things people are paying attention to. This is a time to double down on it.
100%. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Super enlightening. I like
Yeah.
that statement. When
Yeah.
you're in the shadow, no one would know.
Seriously.
Oh my God, it's just lingering in my head because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think people get, if somebody was making content on the internet for the last 7 years prior to 2 years ago about believing in QR codes, when COVID came and everyone started using QR codes, she or he would have been the winner.
Yeah.
We would have all went to them.
We represent them.
Yeah, you would.
Brad wrote QR codes kill kittens in 2016.
So there you go. So I think it's important that if you're committed and passionate about a space, last mile, the value in your world, you could take it very high up. When I hear your business, all I hear is saving time. I will pay a lot of money. I would pay a 5 times premium. If I could go to the car wash and pay $20, or I could press a button and somebody cleans my car while I'm watching the game, I would pay 5 times more.
Yeah.
Because that 18 minutes to drive and get my car washed, 30 minutes is too valuable to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could even play bigger than what you do for a living. You could play on the convenience or the value of time. That's what people pay for, right? Why do you think everyone's buying online? I remember my father and I talk a lot lately about the fact that I tried to talk him out of building this 40,000 square foot wine store. And not only did he build a 40,000 square foot wine store, the inside is like a Saudi palace. It is mahogany and all this stuff. My father built our wine store in the early 2000s like it was his home. And I kept telling him, and he goes, no, you don't get it. If you build it beautiful and forever, you do it right. And I go, no, you don't get it. The consumer behavior is gonna change. I said, Dad, have you looked at our business? 25% of our business is online, right? This was 2002. I go, Dad, 25% of our business is already online. I'm like, nobody even buys online yet. What do you think's gonna happen? And my dad's a young man. He turns 70 next week. So at the time, he was 50. He was young, he was my age roughly. So I'm 47, you know, the last year, the biggest stress on my father is nobody's coming to the store. And he, you know, of course, because of what I do for a living and, you know, it's my family business, he's calling me every month out of nowhere, a phone call. I know what it's gonna be. Hello, hey Dad. Hey, you gotta help me. I gotta get more customers in the store. I'm like, I did help you. I told you 20 years ago not to build it. Consumer behavior changes, things shift. And what I knew back then is what both of these two are trading on today, which is convenience and time is worth everything. All of us will pay anything for more time. Fast food was about time, not the food.
Yeah, true.
Time. We were willing to eat less healthy. The world has gotten less healthy
because they want to save time.
Because of time.
It's true.
We are
So of
getting
course,
busier.
so think about that. We're willing to compromise. That's right. That's right. The irony. That's how much we value time. If you could save time, like it's everything. So I think that the more you sell on time, for you, if I was the head of your marketing, I would probably sell on time over everything.
And this is my question.
Please.
Comes here. Now we are we are going from a startup to a scale up.
Yes.
In terms of team,
Yes.
transaction, and customers. So in these 2 months, we are doing a lot of interview for head of product, head of marketing,
Yes.
and head of growth. I would love to hear some advice from you regarding how to onboard those people.
Yeah, so-
make a change on that.
How to what, my friend?
How to onboard these people to let them be a part of the culture of the company.
You know, that is onboarding senior talent like that is a bigger commitment to being prepared to fire them than overthinking the onboarding. So the crazy thing about hiring is you're guessing. You know, everything good in my life, personal and professional, is completely predicated on me being born with better intuition than the average person. I really believe that. And yet, the amount of times I've made hiring mistakes is unparalleled. It's just the hardest game. So I think a couple things. One, for those senior positions, you have to spend a lot of time with them. The biggest mistake, and including myself, that we make as leaders of companies is when we make significant hires, we don't suffocate them the first 6 months. We don't spend enough time with them. That's one. Number two, you have to be mentally prepared. And for you, as you're hiring, you have to be mentally prepared to within 30 days realizing you made a mistake. And I noticed that a lot of founders take too much pride in how they hire, and they don't want to admit that they made a mistake, and they hold on to people for a year or two too long when they knew 6 days in that it was a problem. So I think two things. One, when you hire these people,
For the first 6 months.
dinner, extra meetings, look at your calendar, find an hour just to spend an hour with them in meetings, like really be with them. Two, if God forbid you make the wrong decision, have the humility to admit it and make a move. Those two things will help you.
Unfortunately, I need to move you.
Okay.